Now we're going to go over how to submit data to eBird. Now there are two options. You can submit either through the website here or you can submit through the app on your phone. For the sake of this video, we will be doing it through the website. Now first, when you click on the Submit tab up here, you'll be brought to this screen asking you where did you bird. It'll ask you latitude or longitude, select an entire area, or import data. If you have a bunch of old information you've kept in a spreadsheet or something, this is an option for you if you want to import all your previous sightings. I would suggest against using this select an entire city, county, state, or country option because that is only suggested if you have old lists that you aren't sure of where you were at. Latitude and longitude is helpful if you had a way of tracking that, or you can find it on a map. So if we use Milford Point as a reference again, we know Milford Point is in New Haven County. So we'll look up New Haven. It'll bring us to a map of Connecticut and show us all the hotspots. You can then search in the search bar, so we can do the coastal center at Milford Point, and it will take us right there and give us the hotspot. Now if we zoom out, we can see some of the other hotspots in the area, but this is the correct hotspot for Milford Point, Connecticut Audubon. If the place you were birding does not have a hotspot, for example, if you happened to be birding someplace different, like in the middle of this Charles Wheeler Wildlife Management Area, you could click and put a pin, and it would allow you to name your personal location and suggest it as a possible birding hotspot. But for the sake of this, we will be going on to Milford Point and hitting continue. Next, you have to select some information for them. It's going to ask you the date and your observation type. Now, if you're on the app, this is all selected for you. It tracks your movement, so it will select traveling or stationary for you and also tell you the date. If you're at Milford Point, you're most likely going to be traveling. If you're not sure about what options you're at, it gives you these other options here and tells you a bit more, and you can always select some more info on the side. Then it's going to ask you some more information. So say you were there for an afternoon walk today, so you arrived at noon. So you would say 12 p.m. and you spent an hour there and you walked out to the point and back, so about 1.5 miles. Now, when it comes to distance, you only want to say one-way mileage. You don't want to include a trail if you're out and back. You still only walked the same 1.5 miles, so you need to make sure you put that and not 3 miles. And then you put the party size. Since we are social distancing right now, you should hopefully have one or whatever your family is. Now in this checklist comments, you can select any additional information you want to put in. You can explain the weather, any other cool wildlife you saw. Say you saw a dolphin for some reason out in the sound. You could add that in there for your own personal record. Once you have that all taken care of, you'd hit continue. And now it brings you to the list asking you, what did you see? And this isn't just tracking what you saw, but also the number that you saw. So you could put in the number of each species. So say you had 3 Canada geese and 76 brant, some newt swan, etc. You would put in all this information for everything. If you had so much of one species and you weren't sure what it was, then they do allow you to put an X just to say, hey, that bird was present. Now, in the rare chance that you find something rare, you may have to hit show rarities up here. And that will load things in, and a bunch of stuff will pop up with rare. Now, in the event that you find something rare, you will need to provide supplemental information to eBird. So, for example, say we had, let's see, a harlequin duck, which was seen this fall and winter off of Milford Point. You would say you saw 1 harlequin duck, and then under the Add Details tab, you'd have to include the information that you saw. Now, it is best to not copy directly from a guidebook what you saw. You want to take notes of what you saw in the field so you're able to put it in later. So, for example, harlequin duck, if we saw a male, we would say small, reddish sea duck with a fancy white pattern. around the head, similar to a court jester. Now, if you haven't seen a harlequin duck before, I will put a photo of one up on the screen. They are a gorgeous duck. They are only here in the dead of winter, so they are, for the most part, all gone by now. It's a very rare chance you may find a single one, but it's not something to go all the way and look for. Now, you would keep going through and fill out the rest of your checklist, the rest of your species. And then, once you're done, you would come over here and answer some questions. The first question you answer is, are you submitting a complete checklist? This is a very important question. This means that you are successfully adding every single bird you were able to identify to this list. If that answer is yes, then you hit yes. And it should always be yes unless you're making an incidental checklist that you're just putting for one or two species. Then you would hit submit and you'll be brought to a new screen. So I'm now on the EcoTravel account here to show you the next screen of a submitted checklist. So once you submit a checklist, you'll see a screen very similar to this where it will summarize the total species you saw, any photos you added on, and have these options on the side. Now if you want to submit additional checklists for the same day or area and date, same location or same location and date, this allows you to skip some of those taxing steps from earlier. But when you complete a checklist during Migration Madness, to be considered for any of the prizes at the end, you will need to share the checklist with the Migration Madness account. So how do you do that? Well, right here next to where it will show your name will be a share button. You will click that share button, and then you will come in and you will type Migration Madness at ctaudubon.org, and you can send me a message or send any of us a message and then share the checklist. Once you share the checklist, we will get an email. It will be added to our account, and we will be able to keep track of the total count of your species.